Okay, call to order the meeting of Mayor and Council. Thank you all so much for being here. If you will rise for the invocation by Councilman Henderson.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this opportunity to be here tonight. We also thank you for all of your provisions for the very breath of life. We ask that you give us wisdom and discernment during these proceedings so that we may do our best for this community. We ask it all in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Please remain standing for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May be seated. Okay, as a reminder, we will have an executive session this evening. All right, are there any changes to tonight's agenda?
No, sir, there are not.
Okay, you've all received the minutes from our November 14th meeting. If there are no changes or corrections, I'll accept the motion to receive the minutes.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman McCoy. Is there a second?
Councilman Holland, I second that motion.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. All right, do we have anybody here tonight for public comment?
First on the list is Charlotte Wilson. Yes. Yeah, I wanted to just ask.
This one? If you don't mind, state your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Sure, my name is Charlotte Wilson. I live in the Bel Air Townhomes here in Seaford, Delaware, and I'm part of the HOA there. And I just wanted to talk about the development that's going on, whether or not we're going to be included, because we seem to be a tight-knit community and everything's right there, and I'm concerned about that. I heard that last meeting they said that we will not be able to use their facilities, and I don't think that's right. And that's what my biggest concern is, and I wanted to see if there was something that can be maybe talked about or changed or maybe added to an amendment or something where that we can participate in our area, because our children needs that as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Paul Sell.
How you doing? Name is Paul Sell, live on 327 Pine Street. You all know me well. Things are getting a little better in my neighborhood, a little better. There's still a little ways to go. I've noticed some things a few days ago. I was out on my porch, and the next door neighbor, which you all are familiar with, they had a party going on, 10, 12 people maybe, and, you know, that's all well and fine, but they had two ladies outside up against a car and performing, let's say, fully dressed lewd sexual behaviors, which basically made me sick. I had to go inside. And we got a lot of children on that street. Okay. And so I know that the police force is short, but I still would like to ask Chief Kraft to maybe get a little more police presence on the street. Him and I have talked about the speeding problems. There is a speeding problem on Pine Street, but when you put a marked car out there running radar, there's no speeding problem. So there's got to be another way to catch these people.
Okay.
So I want to thank the people involved who has made it better on my street, but there's a long way to go. So I hope, you know, police chief and maybe code enforcement, because we know that the landlord has had many code enforcement violations in the past, so we can keep the pressure on them, maybe things will change. And then I have one proposal. Soon we're going to be tearing down Nylon Capital Shopping Center. Personally, I would love to have a brick from that place as a doorstop, conversation piece, something like that. And I'm sure there's many, many other people out there that feel the same way as that. They would like to take a brick home from the shopping center. So maybe we could pick a local charity, get some volunteers, you know, get some single bricks and all. And if we can get it advertised, like to the local news stations, they usually like running stories like that, get up with BOC, WMG, and say we're having a brick sale for this certain charity. I think we could probably bring in a lot of money for that charity.
That's a good idea.
So it'd be an idea for you guys to run around in your head.
Well, our developer of that shopping center pays attention to what we talk about at our meetings, so I'm sure he's making notes right now. I'm sure we'll hear from him tomorrow, so
I
that's a
actually
great
talked to
idea.
him the last meeting I was at. I talked to him outside and
Awesome.
proposed that to him. He thought it was a pretty good idea. And, hey, you know, like I said, get it advertised. That I'm sure there's a lot of people will be willing to buy, you know, pay a couple dollars for a brick from Nollan Capital Shopping Center, give it to a local charity,
It's a great idea.
okay?
Thank you so much.
All right, guys, thank you.
I know Mount Olivet did that years ago, and it was a great fundraiser with the 100-year-old bricks. And but I do want to say to the public, anytime you see something happening in your community and you know in your gut something's not right, call the police. Just call, okay? They'll take care of it. Okay. Do we have anybody else here for public comment?
Yes, next is Stetson Davis.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Stetson Davis. I'm a resident in the Bel Air area. I've been here for about a year now, and when I first moved to the neighborhood, we had a trash collection based off of bins. Since then, we moved to dumpsters, and it has been not kept well to the standards of what I was used to when I first moved into the neighborhood. There's been trash that has been littering the streets, which can cause animals to fester in one location. And there's also a predominant amount of children in the neighborhood as well. So I'm just here to make further awareness to the situation that's going on in my neighborhood as far as like the trash. And I want to say thank you for whoever made the implications for the city to add a third pickup day. That has helped, but more contingencies could be made for the trash situation because it's getting out of hand. And I myself, as a resident, have been helping the maintenance of the area to pick up trash because it's that bad.
Okay.
So, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
You can keep going. It's your discretion.
Next on the list is Sarah Wooten.
Good evening. My name is Sarah Wooten. I'm with Maven Strategies, and I'm here on behalf of our client, Fresh Delaware, and I'm a lifelong resident of Laurel, Delaware. I'm here to provide public comment regarding the ordinance to ban recreational marijuana in the city of Seaford. So Fresh Delaware is a medical cannabis dispensary and has been serving patients in Western Sussex since February 14, 2023. The state of Delaware had identified Western Sussex as an area in need of a medicinal cannabis dispensary, and it encouraged my client, who at the time was operating out of the city of Newark, to expand its operations to Western Sussex. Fresh Delaware was selected the location to open its operations in the C1 area on Route 13 for many reasons, including having a well-lit parking lot with ample parking and the space to expand to serve recreational clientele if the state authorized the sale of recreational marijuana, and Fresh Delaware was awarded a license to that end. Fresh Delaware has invested hundreds of thousands of dollars to ensure the safety and security of the facility operations at their Seaford location. They currently have 8 employees who live in the area, and all of their security personnel are retired Delaware State Troopers. If council members and City of Seaford employees have not had the opportunity to tour the facility and meet the owners of Fresh Delaware, we would like to take the opportunity to formally invite you to do so, and I'll be following up with any who are interested to facilitate this meeting. With respect to the ordinance under consideration, we respectfully request that City Council consider amending the current proposal to permit the sale, testing, cultivation, or manufacturing of recreational cannabis products to certain portions of the C1 or C2 districts, or limiting the number who may operate within those areas. Foreclosing the opportunity for Fresh Delaware to expand into the recreational market from this location will almost certainly lead to Fresh Delaware having to close its doors. As Mr. Hugler previously shared at the initial reading of the proposed ordinance, Fresh Delaware has already seen a 15 to 20% reduction in their sales since recreational cannabis has begun being sold in Maryland this past summer. Without the opportunity to potentially expand into the recreational market, Fresh Delaware's business is not sustainable in Seaford. Additionally, we believe Seaford City Council has ample opportunity to consider making amendments to the current proposal, as the state's marijuana commissioner is on track to publish the state's regulations for the sale, testing, cultivation, and manufacturing of marijuana in July 2024. Finally, for the last week, patients in Western Sussex have submitted comment cards to Fresh Delaware that we have collected and will disseminate to council members for their review. And so on behalf of Fresh Delaware and their patients in Western Sussex, we thank you for your time and consideration.
Okay, thank you.
Next is Roxanne Knights.
Mayor and council, my name is Roxanne Knights. I live in the Bel Air community at 1139 Magnolia Drive. I wanted today tell you that I'm co-joining with Charlotte, our HOA president, and letting you know that Bel Air has gotten really out of control. I don't know if anybody knows that we literally are struggling with our parking and driving past each other, situations like sardine cans. You have to wait for a resident to pull out or pull over so you can get your car out. And it's a constant thing day and night. No one's paying attention to that. In addition to that, we mentioned, like, I overheard that at the planning meeting, they decided that the pool and everything else would be just for the community that's currently being built. And they forgot that they put their community inside of our community and took away all our green space for our kids to play. No parking. We have no parking, and the community children are there. So what are we doing with the Bel Air kids of yesteryear? You know, this new proposal for these different R2s and things that are going on, we do want to be considered, because our children need to play. It's not fair that they play in the streets where they have to wait for cars to pass each other or decide if they're going to park or not park. If you come in there tonight, you'll see there's like 100 cars on each side parked on every street since we got our new community inside of our community. Still having pending concerns about the gate, so I'll be talking to you guys about that at a later time. I want you to keep it fresh on the top of your head because it's still in the making, okay?
Okay.
Have a blessed day.
All right, see you, Ms. Knight.
Next, we have Kelborn Sanders.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. I'm a resident, Kelborn. I'm a resident at the Bel Air community. The trash situation is really got out of hand. I have some pictures to show you guys as evidence. We got an email about maybe a pool or a recreational building. But my concern is if you can't keep up with the trash, what are you going to do about the pool and the recreational building? Also, to get into the property, the main road off Atlanta Road, the road is very dark. There's going to be a bad accident with the residents either coming in or going out. It needs sufficient lighting on that road. That's all I have to say. I can leave these papers for you.
Would you
So
please?
you can see it.
Thank you. If you- Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
We'll address that.
Next, we have Chris Maples.
Bill's working.
Gentlemen, how you doing today?
Approval.
How are you?
Good, I woke up. Hey, it's a great day. So to touch up on a couple of things, the last time I was here, I did mention about the light, like the gentleman was mentioning there. There is a pole there available to do that with. I would recommend it. I also mentioned about the turning lane going from Atlanta onto, what is it, Stein, that it needs a line there to indicate the marker of the dimensions that the person is supposed to turn within. Need that still done. I see they're finally starting to work on Stein pretty soon. Looks like that'd be great. Touch up on a couple of things. Now, in regards to the parking, as Roxanne was talking about a while ago, it's not all Bel Air townhomes. It's also the same residence where she lives in. Because when you go to turn left onto Cherry Blossom, that road right there, it goes straight, Magnolia does, and then it curves to the left a little bit and then goes down. Well, they're parked all along there. They're parked right there by the turn. So when I come out of Cherry Blossom Lane to turn right on Magnolia in the mornings, because I leave out 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, it's dark. You can't see around the cars that are parked right there. That no parking area, you know, the 20-foot radius for the turns should extend out a little further there so that the cars can't park there on the corners. So with that being said, as I said, it's not just the reserves of Bel Air that's parking on that road that she's referring to. Okay. Now, let's go back to, hang on, get my bearings here. This on that one. That one there I slipped up on. I forgot what the other person was talking about a while ago. Oh, trash. There we go. So with the trash, okay. They had the right idea. I mean, granted, I liked having the receptacles behind our townhomes where we could just step out the door and put it into the dumpster. Great. Only problem is, you know, it did look a little shoddy with all the different townhomes having all the different receptacles. I get that. They wanted a cleaner look and everything. Now, they probably put the wrong size of containers, of trash can containers there. They could have used one a little larger because when somebody moves out, boom, it's filled full. But with that being said, the residents are not putting it into the receptacle like they're supposed to. Now, granted, it gets full, they set it to the side, yes. But part of it relies upon the residents putting it into the trash can. Right. And not coming out there and just tossing it over the fence because they don't want to open the fence. So it's a 50-50 deal. Larger trash can container, be great. But at the same time, though, the residents being responsible would be great too. I live there. I have to deal with it all the time too. I know exactly what I'm talking about. As far as anything else, I can't think of anything else, but let's get that light over there. Let's get the lines written down on the Atlanta versus Stein. Let's get that done. I've mentioned it before. It's already been too long. It should have already been accomplished. There's no reason it couldn't. Whenever I phoned during the summertime asking about getting Stein fixed between the overpass and past the middle school, they said, well, it got pushed back. And then the person I spoke to then also said that, well, when it gets cold, we can't do anything. Okay, well, it's cold now, and yet we're fixing to do construction, right? Okay, then it's cold. It can still be done. So there's no reason that all these things can't get accomplished. Okay, that's all I got to say. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Oh, hey, one more thing. Sorry. Now, in regards to the swimming pool, like I said, it would be a great thing to have out there. But parking is probably a little bit more needed, a larger parking lot versus the swimming pool. Although I'd like the idea of my chicken legs getting tan. But at the same time, though, if they are, you said that they were not going to allow?
Yeah, Bel Air, Chapel.
Okay. So at one time, I know they were calling to the Bel Air Association in regards to working together to get that. And I know that at one time they had offered them to come over and be able to use the amenities. But my fear is, as we all know how business is, they'll turn around and say, hey, you know what, Mr. Maples, I got to increase your rent because now we're using all this water and we have to pay for all these expenses and everything. And yet if they do allow the other association to come in over there, which would be a great thing for them, but if they increase our rent and they don't charge them a membership or something of that nature to compensate for the expenses, then that would be wrong too.
Understood.
Okay, now.
Thank you. Okay.
You have a good day, guys.
Thank you.
You too.
Okay. That's it? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we're going to go ahead and close our regular meeting and open up our public hearing, and I'll call up Mr. Bailey to walk us through.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
So for the first item on tonight's public hearing is for 847 Cranbrook Drive LLC. They're the property owners of Bel Air lots located on Chatham Drive. They're requesting a rezoning of single-family lots 26 through 33 and 78 through 83 from R1 low density road zoning to R2 medium density residential zoning to develop duplexes in accordance with the special exception provisions of the city code. These are tax mapping parcels 531 10.00 407.00 through 414.00 and 459.00 through 464.00. So these are the lots that they're looking to have rezoned. I've outlined them in blue on that street there, just behind the townhomes that they've constructed on a future street that's to be installed and developed under this proposed project. So they did supply us with a site plan showing their proposed development plans. And I do have a larger picture of it. It's easier, it'll be a little easier to see on the next slide. But they're looking to rezone these 13 lots from R1 to R2. And the 13 will be reconfigured to accommodate 8 duplexes, 5 single-family dwellings, a community center, a pool, tot lot, a dog park, and additional parking for the development. And the new lots do meet the lot requirements for R2, with a minimum lot size of 4,500 square feet and a minimum lot width of 35 feet. And on this slide, it's a little easier to see. On the left-hand side there, near the bottom is the dog park and a tot lot with some single-family residential homes just above that. Then on the right side there, they're proposing a community center, a pool, and a nice-sized parking lot for that, where the townhomes can utilize that, the people using the pool can use that. And then to the north and south of those is the duplexes, which you can see one there just on the bottom of that picture. And it'll be similar up to the upper side towards the governor's grant for the duplexes. And part of the rezoning, we have to revise our maps for the comprehensive plan. The current map is shown there on the left on Chatham Drive where all the lots are blue. And then the proposed would change those Chatham Drive lots to the pink color for the R2. And Mike Scally is here from the developer if there's any questions or anything.
Okay, are there any questions from council? Councilman Henderson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So you had originally, is it 14 single-family R1 lots?
Yes, I think that's the.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm. They're not gaining any
Matter of fact, I think they're losing one. Is it going down to 13?
It could be a wash, yeah. Well, either losing one or maintaining the same amount of units there. It's the same.
Same?
Yeah.
Okay. My basic concern is that, you know, we've seen this come across several times. And I understand the desire to come up with amenities. However, this neighborhood is already congested. And it's already a point of contention. It was designed 30 years ago?
The original layout, yes, sir.
30 years ago as R1, and now out of convenience and a desire to provide amenities, which were not thought, you know, it's kind of an afterthought, that you're going to make it even more dense, the R1 portion of this, even more dense. And I'm just concerned that even in spite of the fact that you want to supply amenities, that it is becoming more dense with R2. We're exacerbating an existing problem of congestion. So it wasn't really a question, just more or less a statement.
Yes, Councilman McCoy.
I'm going to echo similar sentiment. Not much as a question, but we've heard tonight several issues already out there in this area. This proposal, for me, does not alleviate any of the concerns that have been addressed tonight. The proposal as is, in a vacuum, I don't necessarily have an issue with. What comes along with it, potential increased traffic issues, parking issues, and there seems to be some element of division out in there in that area, where some people are going to have access to the amenities, some are not going to have access to it. There already seems to be some underlying issues out there now. Again, the proposal itself, I don't have a particular issue with. But if we're not alleviating the current situation out there, I don't think we're doing the community any service by doing this.
Could I ask a couple questions of
Sure,
the
please.
of
Yep,
the
yep.
developer? Mr. Scally, would you mind coming up?
Come on.
Mr. Gross, you were the professional engineer that prepared this plan. Could I ask you a couple questions as well? Would you mind coming up?
Yep.
So you show on this plan several additional parking areas, parking fields. Just for the record, can you testify how many additional parking spaces will be added by this plan?
I knew you were going to ask me that,
And you have the answer.
I do. If I can read it, I printed them small, so, yeah, I believe there's like 69 additional parking spaces proposed.
With this plan?
Yes.
And just to ask a follow-up question, and maybe Mr. Scally is the person to answer this. As far as your sequence of construction, is your plan to, or would you consider constructing the parking amenities first to address that parking problem? And would you mind just talking about how you, with your residents in the multifamily area, how you handle parking through your permit process?
Yeah, and I think it's helpful to take a step back, and I know, Councilman, your questions were rhetorical, but I'm going to answer them anyway. In fact, this plan is born out of addressing issues in the townhouse section. When that townhouse section was approved, I believe it was 1.5 parking spots per unit, which we do have. What we've come to see after we've built it, after a lot of community feedback, is it's too congested. So really what we're doing here is we're adding parking, and if you look closely at the plan, you can see walkways between the existing townhouses for overflow parking to alleviate the concerns in the townhouse section. Everything in the single-family section parks itself. You know, everyone's got 2 spots in the driveway and 2 spots in the garage. There's plenty of room. There's no more density. There's not another body proposed to be in this plan because there's no new units being proposed. So in fact, this is exactly done to alleviate that. Addressing trash concerns, to echo one of the folks who was here, yeah, you have to put the trash in receptacles. You can't toss it over. I see them on top of the bins. And it's a bit of a learning process for management too. One of the other persons said, thanks for picking it up 3 times instead of 2 times. So it's not really a matter of the size of the bins, it's getting a feel for what the use is. And one of the reasons we went for the bins was all the concern in the neighborhood about congestion with parking. Well, we had congestion with parking, and everybody had 2 trash receptacles, so it was like 150 trash receptacles. So we've been trying to make changes to. It's not a legal issue in the towns, but it's a practical issue. People have more cars and more stuff, and we're trying to alleviate that. The community center, a large driver is so that we can have on-site management. It's not 24/7, but during business hours, we can have cameras. We can have a place for the DVR, a place for the police chief. He has an opportunity to come and look at cameras. So if there's crime and that kind of stuff, we can be helpful in that regard. So really, this plan is almost solely to deal with the issues in the townhouse section and try to make it better. We've already done lots of things and listened to the community a lot and made actual changes because it wasn't satisfactory to me, let alone to the residents. This is a negative monetary plan for the developer. I mean, all it's doing is costing us tons of money, and we get no true benefit out of it. So.
Would you be opposed to, if the council were to stipulate constructing the parking first, would that be in your sequence of construction? Would you have a problem with that?
No, no. But I gotta check with the construction people and see. I mean, if we're going around and paving that road, I don't see why it would be an issue. But I don't know what utilities we have to deal with. But in spirit, I have no issue doing that.
And again, just for the record, Mr. Gross, you stated it would add an additional 67 parking spaces. And in your multifamily, just from my own memory, how many units are there?
There's 77.
77. So you're almost adding 1 more parking space per unit out there.
The way I had kept it in my mind, Mr. Anderson, is we had 1.5 per unit. This adds an extra half
to take it up to
each
2.
unit. Oh, it adds more than half per unit. But not, I don't think a full spot.
And you referenced it, the code has changed in the lifespan of this project. It was 1.5, it is now 2. So this would bring it into the spirit of code compliance.
Correct.
And I think you mentioned you're going to add video surveillance with this as an amenity to address, obviously, crime, which we've heard about. Will that also help and assist in speeding throughout the development?
I think so. I think because we're going to be able to identify it. You know, when someone calls and says there's a green car that flies in here at 60 miles an hour every night at 7, we're going to be able to tell who it is. You know, and I think that's a big driver. And with the extra parking, you know, again, it's like learning with the trash. We got to figure out how and where people park, but we're going to start assigning spots to people with hang tags and say, look, you're in this townhouse building, your parking's behind here and here. And then we can kind of take that pressure off the neighborhood.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions from council?
I have one, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
You said additional parking. Now, for the new housing that's going up, how many parking spots is it per house?
The single family ones?
Yes.
Well, there's two, it's a 2-car garage and 2 cars fit on the drive.
Okay.
So I think that over parks.
So Councilman Holland, the code department would issue a permit if you have 2 off-street parking spaces for a new house.
Okay.
Like
All right.
that's the code minimum. In the single-family area, as he's referenced, he has provided over the code minimum.
Okay. All right. That's what I was concerned about. Thank you.
Okay. Other questions from council? Are there any questions from the public? All right, let's try to do this in an orderly fashion. If you guys probably should stay close, because this is your chance to ask a question. This isn't public comment. This is your opportunity to ask a question, and they'll respond to that, okay? They will respond, if they choose to, yep.
Can you
Come up to the mic. We have to record all this.
Just state your name for the record.
Charlotte Wilson. I'm the HOA president for the Bel Air Townhomes Association. I live at 629 Rosemary Drive. My question is, are we going to be included in this? You know what's paying a fare or a minimum amount is not a bad idea, but I don't want us to be exempt because we need to be included. We have so many kids in that neighborhood. And I was just concerned, are y'all considering that, or is still like exempt?
And it came up before in the public comments that out of the planning commission it was decided that you would not be included. That is not at all what I said. What I said was, one, we haven't been approved for this. So to start deciding who's using it and whose association is who, because I don't even know, I haven't been able to figure out whether the single families have a homeowners association yet. But what I mentioned at planning commission was I've spent a ton of time and money getting to this point. I wasn't going to go to that stage yet. I don't know, to be candid. I don't know if we're in the same association or if you're a separate association. I remember at one point you said you were separate
We
from
are
us.
separate, but we were supposed to be included.
Yes.
We are separate, but we were supposed to be included.
I don't
because
know what
we were
that
there
means.
when they started building the development. But then I guess they went bankrupt and somebody else bought the land and they decided to develop it. And now they excluded us, took us out of the picture. But we're still here. And
No.
we had all those things were promised to us when we moved there.
Okay, different developer. I don't know how. No. I don't know. I'm a recovering attorney. I don't know legally how someone excludes you. So I don't even know if that happened.
Yeah.
So I'd look to figure that out.
Okay.
Would you be able to use the pool for free? No.
Okay.
But a fee would be something we could talk
Yes.
about. And it just all has to do with things need to be sized appropriately because there's a ton of
Right.
townhomes that
Right.
of the existing townhomes. But no decisions have been made as to exclude or include anybody. I mean, you've been to enough of these meetings to know that
Okay.
we've been addressing everything as best we can. So to think that, we wouldn't address that. But I can't get pushback and beat up for 2 years and then say, let me use the pool, So, let's also be serious.
Right, I mean, to be honest, perfectly honest, everything that y'all been doing to make the situation better there in the community, I have noticed it is better. I have noticed it has been getting better, but certain little things they've been pointing out, like the lighting and all that, and the parking, because some people will not obey and do, but the police been coming up and showing up and giving tickets to people who've been parking in the wrong direction. I mean, things are happening. I just don't want us to be excluded from everything that's happening
I understand.
because we have to walk the same streets.
Yep.
We're in that neighborhood, that's
I
why.
understand.
Thank you. All right, hold on one second. You want to do them? That's a great idea, yes.
Thanks, Gary.
There. Who from the public has a question next?
Well, I have a couple of questions. Nice to meet you, Mr. Herrera. My name is Roxanne Knight. I am the president of the Neighborhood Watch Committee of Bel Air. The president of Neighborhood Watch Committee of Bel Air. And so I did have a question concerning the amenities. I heard the same thing, that you had decided not to allow the former residents of Bel Air to use the facility. And now I'm hearing that you said that it hasn't even been decided because no decision was finalized, right? So I would like you to, I would propose to you, listen, I'd like you to consider us. I understand that you feel like you've been getting beat up by all the people that's coming to these meetings disagreeing with what you want. However, we're still people, and we live back there. We're not objects that live in houses back there. And we all have kids and cars. And even though you can build and design and structure everything that you desire to do, you can't omit the people who were once there, like we don't exist, because we are there. Okay, there are a lot of children playing in the streets, those congested streets. And their safety is a struggle right now. So if you come in and you build safety for your community within our community, then you're not being fair. So that's why you're getting a struggle from us on a lot of angles. I would like you to consider making us available, whether you have to charge us additional funding, getting files every year, or being managed it some kind of way. I think you should consider the old community of Bel Air that's there with your new building, because that's what you want us to agree with you for.
Yeah, and let me just address, it in two ways. Yes, I would consider that, and like you said, with a fob or something, I don't find that idea objectionable to any degree. But there's a difference between a pool and safety, and the safety is what we're trying to address with this plan, with pulling the cars off the streets, so the streets aren't as narrow with
I
cars
didn't touch
parked in.
that yet. That was just
Well,
the.
you
I'm
said
just
safety
talking
and
about
kids
the-
playing in the street, so.
Right, but I kind of alluded to that because we're having an issue with parking and safety with the children being in the streets as cars attempt to pass each other. Even if they go up on the sidewalk, sometimes you have to roll up on the sidewalk just to pass each other and keep the children safe, children on the sidewalk, okay? So that was just caused by the additional homes that were built and the additional cars. And I'm gonna say this to the mayor and council and everybody in this room, please take into consideration. A lot of people in Delaware believe in having 5 cars. So when you're counting it as 2 cars, the only thing that makes sense is the homes that have 4 parking spaces. There are people with families that have children that are renting these homes, 4-bedroom homes, 3-bedroom homes, that are drivers, they're adults, they live with each other. And so one has a car, one has 2 cars, another one has a truck or whatever. So you have people with families that have 4 plus cars per housing, okay? And when you say and you state that you're building these additional parking spaces, 69, as the engineer said, you're only building it for the new homes. It doesn't, I can't park on a new property to get rid of parking that I don't have. So you're not really helping the congestion of the parking.
No, I don't think that's fair, if I could interrupt you.
Yes, sure.
Yeah. What we're doing is well, first of all, the existing townhomes have lots of cars too. So
Yeah, they
I
do.
can't have a townhouse complex where I have people that walk to work. So they have cars too. So what we're trying to do with the new plan is pull those cars off the road and get them into the lots. And that's adding parking is all I know how to solve that problem. And it's not a problem that's completely caused just by my tenants.
No, it's not. What I'm going to interject there. I just want to ask you, so you're saying you're giving each property 4 parking spaces. So I'm asking you, are you saying because you're giving those properties 4 parking spaces now that the street parking will be available for other people to park in those empty
No, no.
slots on the street?
Maybe there's some confusion. The talk about the 4 parking spaces is the single-family parking on the neighboring neighborhood, and where they have 2 in the garage, 2 in the driveway. The parking lots here are intended for,
you know, folks that would be parking on the street otherwise are pulling up on the sidewalk to say, no, you need to park in this lot. If you live in these 2 buildings, you park in this lot. And by that, the hope is people were pulled off the streets, which would make it back more to normal what it was before we came into town.
So you're gonna backtrack into the community that's already built to create another parking spaces that will allow what's happening in the congestion of the current community
We're gonna
to clear up that parking issue that we're having?
Our intention is to use the property next door to help alleviate the issue in the townhouse section.
Okay, that's one. And the next one was, okay, that was it. The lighting, and I'm gonna say about the garbage. When you removed all those receptacles, I don't know if you considered the amount of receptacles you removed. You have 2 dumpsters in each gated area, 2 gated areas with 2 small dumpsters. One dumpster can cover like 5 homes. You have more than that. I mean, the trash that people put out on a regular, including recycles, is for 2 bins per family. And so you have 2 bins times 5 is, that dumpster is practically full. So what I think you probably might want to consider is building a bigger trash receptacle somewhere or adding more in your community to allow for the trash not to be outside the gate. And as far, I heard you lay out to the fact that people throw the trash over the gate. That's not really the reason why it's not enough space and the trash is on the ground. Even if you have a workman that comes out and cleans that in the daytime, that would be a job description not being followed, you know what I'm saying? I would enforce that, have him come out and pick up that trash off that ground that people may throw over or lay on the side for whatever their reason, and put it into the dumpster. To alleviate the animals that are increasing, I don't know if you know, we have raccoons now, more raccoons, and we have more skunks and stuff coming out from the little forest that we have, situating themselves in and around those trash environments. Plus, the children are playing in the trash that's outside. It's not really safe, you know, so safety with the kids again, because they have nowhere to play, playing by the dumpsters. That's a hide-and-go-seek environment. They need to lock those gates, people need to have keys, so kids don't fall in that and get hurt either. Those are things that are going on with that dumpster.
Yeah, and let me address. I don't disagree with anything you say. We shouldn't have trash laying around.
Right.
And don't want skunks, don't want raccoons. You know, I don't want it as much as you don't want it, because I want the neighborhood to be nice and inviting and rent to people. And I think and we're not gonna be able to fit bigger dumpsters. These are kind of your standard apartment size dumpster. Now, what you do is you just get more frequent pickup.
Okay.
So and I think they added a 3rd pickup from what I heard, you know, through the community here. And if it needs to be a 4th pickup, it needs to be a 4th pickup. But there needs to be responsibility all around to put trash in the dumpster. I've seen trash on the very top of the dumpster, which I don't know how you'd even get it up there, but it's probably a nice 10-yard toss.
Okay.
You know.
Well, I'll be keeping an eye. My name is Roxanne Nice. Feel free to contact me. I'll contact you if I like to
Yeah.
talk.
Thanks for your comments.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Okay. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Thank you, guys. All right, Chris Maples, I live at the Reserves of Bel Air. Help me, remind me to come back to 1.5, okay? So, that way I don't forget. I'm getting old, hey, you know? But no, you know, as far as the trash, I think it's only picked up once a week still. It needs to be twice a week. Because like I said, once somebody moves out, which has been pretty frequent lately, boom, it's filled full. So that's an area where it could be improved upon. As far as raccoons,
And let me just
I haven't
address
seen
that.
it. Hang on. As far as raccoons, I haven't
Let
seen
me
any
address
yet.
real quick. I think if move-outs seem to be an issue, property management should know that that's coming. So that is something that we could probably
Right.
address and not have an issue.
But they do fill up pretty quick, you know, the smaller trash cans that are out there. So that's something that we should look into. But as far as raccoons, hey, they're fun to play with. If you ain't never played with one, they're a blast, okay? So enjoy them while they're there. No, in all sincerity though. Now, 1.5. Explain to me 1.5 parking spaces for the townhomes that are there.
That's a car and a moped.
A car and
It's
a
just
what?
a moped. No, it's just a
Yeah.
calculation that's done through the zoning code that says if you have 3 houses, you need, or if you have 3 units, you would need, what is that, 5.5 1.5? 4.5? Yeah, I'm not the math guy in the organization. But that, so it's just an aggregate number that you would need in a neighborhood. And that was what was the old code when this thing was approved.
I was going to say, my second car is pretty small, but it ain't gonna squeeze in there with the other car, by no means. So, with that being said, like the one of the gentlemen has touched on, the parking spaces would be a larger priority to get accomplished first. That way they can have a place to park. There are some tenants that even though there may be, because there's only one parking lot for all the units that are there. So the others do park on the road, which that one should have been a better thought out plan in the process in the beginning. But with the one parking lot, this Joe Blow that lives way over here, he's not gonna walk way over there to that one parking lot. He's gonna park out there on the road. Now let's go back to the road issue again before I lose my train of thought because I'm getting old. The, even though you may build parking spaces for the reserves of Bel Air, that is still not gonna fix the parking that is along Magnolia, which would prevent a fire engine from turning left into Cherry Blossom or anything like that, because of the residents of the original townhomes there park on both sides. So that's not gonna fix, we may build to fix ours, that's great, it's marvelous, but it ain't gonna do anything for the residents that are already living there, because that is not in your control, that's not in theirs, that's their association's control to
The
figure
theory
it
is
out.
if we move our cars off the road, there's more room for the existing residents
them
to
to
spread
park in
out.
front of our
And it
townhomes.
really we've been following with the fire chief and police chief has said along, and where to park. And I think they designated where to paint the curbs. And if they want to, if you want to petition to them that we'll repaint them a different way, it doesn't matter to me, whatever's safest. But to my knowledge, there's been no issues with fire trucks and things getting back there. In fact, the last time I was down here, I followed one right in it was a heart attack, and I think a fire truck and 2 ambulances, and I was right behind to see,
But
and
if
there
they
wasn't
come in
any
the
issue.
middle of the night, it's a different story. When all the cars are parked, that's a little different story.
Well, if someone's illegally parked, maybe, but I think the fire department has determined that it works.
Hey, as long as it works. But at the same time, though, it's a very tight turning radius, even for a regular car to pull out.
Yeah.
With the cars parked so close to the corners, it's an issue.
Yep.
But that's their association, not the Reserves of Bel Air. So if you can get more parking for the Reserves of Bel Air, marvelous. I'm all for that. Okay? I'll shut up now, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, Ms. Robin. Yes, sir.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
My name is Gene Bolivet, and I live over in Bel Air. My wife and I just moved here back in August from New Jersey, so we're new to Seaford.
Welcome.
And based on what we're talking about, in the townhouses, we park in a driveway. We have a driveway, and then if you have another car, you can park in the back lot. So I don't understand what the whole issue is, why people don't have enough parking spaces. Because from what I noticed, and then what you proposing and building more overflow, that's all they really need. Because if people would just park, because like they give us permits, you have to put the permits on your car for you to park outside of your driveway. So anybody that's parking outside of the driveway that doesn't have a permit, their car shouldn't be there. Then they should be towed. So I think that's the way we can monitor what's going on. Are people parking there that don't belong in the neighborhood? What's going on with all these cars being parked there? And why aren't people parking in the back, in the parking lot area? I see a lot of times there's a lot of spaces back there, and people park all on the streets. So people need to utilize the back parking area, and then that might alleviate some of that problem.
Right.
Of the parking. But also with that corner situation that they talk about, that is a dangerous situation at night. Sometimes I come in, there's always somebody parked at that corner. Even when you're coming out of Cherry Blossom, you might not see a car coming down Magnolia because there's cars on the sides that's blocking the view of the street. All right.
Yeah, no, thank you. Is that
Yeah.
something that I should address with the
And
city? or-
the chief is here. I'm sure he's making a note. He'll swing out there at night. And all right, is there anyone else who would like to speak that has not spoken yet? Hold on, let someone else go before you.
Oh, let her say
Thank
the
you.
compliment, please.
Hi, I'm Robin Veretti. I'm at 1007 Magnolia. Now, I'm not a townhome person. I own my home, single-family home. I don't rent it. I live in it. I've talked to my neighbors on each side, 105 and 1009. We're all homeowners. And I want to get back to the R2 zoning. I really don't want duplexes. When I moved into Bel Air, we were under the impression it was going to be R1 single-family homes. So I'd like to keep property value up, and I don't want to have a neighborhood that looks like Dr. Frankenstein's monster, all stitched together pieces, held together with roads. I don't mind if you want all these amenities, that's fine. I have a problem, I don't want duplexes. I would like to see single-family homes only. And I know this came up just 9 months, 9 months ago, and Councilman Henderson at the time said, residents moved there under the understanding that the community was zoned R1 for single-family homes. And you also said that zoning changes increase the density and traffic in the area. And that's true. So that's a very busy scenario there. Good luck to you. But I think the duplexes, no, I think that's really going to detract from the aesthetic of the community and property values for those of us that are homeowners and have a great investment in our expensive homes. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is there anyone else? Yes, Ms. Roxanne.
I was just going to piggyback off.
Come on. Come on up to the mic.
What Gene just said, Mr. Herrera, basically I'm going to say this to you. When you built your second parking space, we were under the impression that everyone would be able to use it. However, once it was completed, it was only again for your residents, the people who live in your community that you put inside of our community. So we would kind of like keep this in mind. We used to park on all the streets that are now your streets in your private community within our community. So now all those cars got pushed to one Magnolia Drive and Rosemary Drive and some on the Bel Air side, right? Because technically you put people in there who have 4 and 5 cars. They don't have 2. They have 4 to 5 cars. And so we can't even park up in there anymore if we wanted to. And like Mr. Maple said, we're parking in front of other people's townhomes and homes. So some people are not, they're objectionary to it. They don't want that because they don't know who's parking in front of their house. And it could be a little bit more problematic in the sense of safety because people have smart mouths and may want things happening for them. I wouldn't want anybody just parking their car any kind of how in front of my townhouse. I do that now, complained about it before. Blocking my driveway, I have a very difficult time with the new community, getting out of my driveway in the morning. But I just want you to be aware that maybe, like again, this is the second time, the amenities and everything that you build has to some kind of way wrap us inside of it so that we can work as a team, you know, so that maybe you can get some of what you're looking for. Those parking spaces that are empty at night, some of those cars that belong to the other community of Bel Air could be parked in there, even if you have to give us decals. You understand? So that you can help facilitate a change in how the neighborhood currently flows.
I understand, and the best way to address this is to add additional parking and direct people where to park. I mean, it's all I can do.
Decals,
And decal, we have them.
All right. Thank you.
I just have something really quick to say. Can I say it? Okay. Thank you. I didn't even plan to do this much talking. But in any case, my concern, I wanted to say about Magnolia and Rosemary, we don't own those streets. The city owns those streets. So I always tell the residents, the homeowners, the townhome owners, if they have problems with people parking in front of their driveways and stuff, they need to call the police because the city owns that. So even when you, like Roxy had said, when you built it, you know, your development, it took away from a lot of our parking. So now they are parking where they shouldn't be parking. But I just wanted to make it clear, we don't own those streets, so there's nothing the town home association could do about it. Because I heard some people say maybe it's their problem. It's not our problem because we don't own the streets. We had numbers put in front of our houses to indicate this is our house and try to, you know, because gave us a little half of parking, you know, in front of the house. But I was told that they can still park there regardless. Anyone can still park there. So I just wanted to make that clear. So that's not our issue as far as the parking, because we don't own the streets, Rosemary and Magnolia. Am I correct?
Correct.
Correct. All right. Any other comments? Any other comments from the Councilman Henderson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a question maybe for Mike or the city manager. This is a concept sketch. It's not a sketch plan, as I understand it.
This is just the rezoning request. They will have to come back for further approvals for the duplexes and the amenities, yes.
Okay, here's my concern. I mean, we've seen a concept plan. We vote to, in a hypothetical situation, we vote to approve rezoning this area that you outlined at the beginning of your presentation for R2. And for whatever reason, this plan doesn't go through that we're looking at. It's all zoned for R2. That's my concern, is that this plan is not ironclad. It's a great concept. I understand the need for it. I understand the developer's desire to provide amenities, needed amenities. However, I think it puts us in a vulnerable position to rezone this based on a concept, not anything else.
Yeah,
Can you be rezoned with contingent upon it being this plan?
So it's a tough one. Councilman Henderson is absolutely correct, right? Rezoning, you can change your proposal down the road. If this plan doesn't come to fruition, the zoning remains, right, until another zoning change occurs. So technically, that is correct.
But you could reject that.
Yeah, you're correct. We run into these types of chicken and egg games all the time, right? When council's asked to kind of make a leap of faith. I'm sorry, Mr. Groside.
Yeah, can I
Yes.
just comment on that? Yeah, I was under the impression, and Mike can clarify this, and I don't know if this makes a difference or not, because they are two separate applications, but we were submitting them simultaneously. So if in fact, obviously you could vote the rezoning and deny the subdivision, but if they got tied together, and I don't know if that's possible or not, probably not, they would have to come back in with a new application if they wanted to change that configuration.
Just, if you don't mind, where are you with your jurisdictional approvals, Conservation District?
We're not. I mean, this is really our first effort, our first step at this point.
Yeah, so we can't give final approval till you have all your jurisdictional approvals. We can't issue permit till you have your jurisdictional approvals in place, but.
But at that point, we could reject if anything different came through, correct?
Council has that authority to not approve a plan if it's not in accordance with the code. Now, if it meets the code, this is not a special exception or a variance, so you are
if you
somewhat
approve
duty-bound.
the zoning change and it comes back different
it's a
but
use
meets
by
the
right.
code, then we're in a pickle.
You could be.
And generally speaking, the subdivision part, I mean, this is just my experience. You know, if anything, it's gonna go less because you lost some areas due to some engineering or stormwater or something you had to deal with through the engineering or the permit process.
One other question.
Yes, sir.
What other reasons for the rezoning besides economics is it?
It's not economics. It's just to alleviate the townhome issues and to make it better.
Are you suggesting to leave it as R1 single family?
Yes.
Is that something you would consider?
No. I mean, Charles has done or Mr. Anderson has done a fantastic job of managing me through this process. And I've gotten to the point where I've got zero density. This plant's gonna cost me about $500,000 to build out, to alleviate problems that even to this night, people still won't acknowledge that this helps. So I'm not coming back. I'm not gonna pull a switcheroo, stand here on tape and pull a switcheroo with council, but I'm not coming back with singles or a new plan of any regard. We'll just stick with the same plan and build it out and live with what we have.
And just to reiterate, there's no density change per se. It's 13 lots that would be rezoned and reconfigured into, a handful of single family and a handful of duplexes, but the number's 13.
Right.
So
Doesn't
it's a
impact the
wash.
density, yeah. I understand. Any other questions for council? Okay, all right, we'll move on to the next one. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Moving on to public hearing number 2. This is for Haven Way 6, the property owner of lots on Cedar Avenue. They're requesting to subdivide the existing parcel into 2 separate lots. Tax map and parcel is 431-4.00-115.00. So this is the lots, or the property that they're looking to subdivide right off Cedar Avenue, just off of High Street. And they're proposing to subdivide it into 2 parcels for proposed duplexes on each parcel. And they did receive approval from Board of Adjustments on November 8th for those duplexes. The existing lot size is 18,320 square feet and 150 foot wide. And their proposed new lots for Lot 1 is 9,160 square feet and 71.24 feet wide. And Lot 2 is 9,160 square feet and 78.76 feet wide. And they do meet the lot requirements for the C3 zone, which has a minimum lot size per unit of 3,630 square feet. Each lot will have 4,580 square feet per unit and a minimum lot width of 35.
Okay, are there any questions from council? Okay, are there any questions from the public? Okay, Mike.
So moving on to public hearing number 3. This is the proposed revisions to the Seaford Municipal Code by amending sections 15-29B, prohibited uses, and sections 15-40B, prohibited uses, that would ban marijuana cultivation facilities, marijuana product manufacturing facilities, testing facilities, and retail marijuana sales from the C1 General Commercial District and C2 Highway Commercial Districts in the city of Seaford.
Okay, just for council's information and the public, we do have our city solicitor, Mr. Griffith, on the phone. He couldn't be here tonight, but we did think it was important for him to be here to answer any questions or even make a statement if he felt that was necessary before we get started.
Are you good, Dan?
I can't hear terribly well, I'm sorry.
Mr. Griffith, did you want to make a statement before I ask if there's any questions in regards to this?
Sure, I think to the extent it might be helpful, if you can hear me okay. First of all, good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mr. City Manager, and council members. Thank you for indulging me on a remote participation this evening. My family passed around both turkey and COVID on Thanksgiving, so I cannot appear in person. But I understand and looked at the first reading of the proposed code amendment, and just wanted to point out a couple things. This is an amendment, a code amendment that is governed and in some ways influenced by state law, the Delaware Marijuana Control Act, which was enacted earlier this year. I think it was April of this year. And as I think council members are all aware, and I think the public is aware, that act permitted the use and the growth and the implementation of recreational marijuana facilities. And when it comes to the provision of the Delaware Marijuana Control Act, that applies to municipalities and what municipalities can and cannot do with respect to the permitted use of recreational marijuana facilities, I just wanted to read Section 4 Delaware Code 1351, which is that section that applies to municipalities, and a specific provision which states, a municipality may prohibit the operation of marijuana cultivation facilities, marijuana product manufacturing facilities, marijuana testing facilities, or retail marijuana stores through the enactment of an ordinance or through an initiated or referred measure. And that's subsection A of that provision. So there's no question that the municipality, that the city of Seaford has the right to prohibit the operation of recreational marijuana facilities in the C1 and C2 zones, which I understand is what is being proposed. So I think I'm here to address the legality of what's being proposed, certainly as a policy decision, and whether it's something that the city wants to do. That's not my province. Nobody elected me. That's up to the elected officials. So I just wanted to point out that what is being considered is perfectly legal under state law, and I think it was pointed out at the last council meeting when this was discussed that a number of Delaware municipalities have already enacted a similar provision, primarily in the beach towns in Sussex County, but it's a measure that's gaining momentum throughout the state, municipalities banning these types of facilities. And they're, like I said, and as I read, they are perfectly within their rights to do so under Delaware law. But with that being said, I'm happy to entertain any questions. Again, I had a little bit of trouble hearing the mayor initially, but I'm happy to entertain any questions or take any comments.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Griffith. Council, do you have any questions? Okay, no questions from council. Are there any questions or comments from the public? Yes, sir. Mr. Santos, would you like to come down to the mic?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed elected officials, for having me here today. I stand before you to address the proposed ban on medical marijuana in our city. I believe that this ban as written strikes at the heart of freedom of choice in healthcare for our community. Medical marijuana isn't just a plant, it's a lifeline for countless individuals suffering from chronic pain, seizures, and mental health disorders. Unlike many prescription medications, it offers relief with fewer side effects and a lower risk of addiction. I ask, should individuals have the right to pursue treatments that improve their quality of life? By denying access to medical marijuana, we deny this fundamental freedom. Our duty is not to dictate, but to empower choices that benefit our community's well-being. I implore you to consider the voices of those seeking relief through alternative means. Upholding this ban restricts not only their access to treatment, but their basic freedom of choice in healthcare. Today we confront the decision to ban medical marijuana, a move that could compromise public safety and exacerbate the very issues we aim to address. The prohibition of medical marijuana doesn't eradicate its use, it merely drives it underground. This black market poses severe risk, with products often laced with dangerous substances like fentanyl. Legalizing and regulating medical marijuana through dispensaries ensures safer access and protects our community. There's a notion that marijuana serves as a gateway drug, leading individuals to more dangerous substances. Yet purchasing from dispensaries under strict regulation minimizes this risk. The real gateway is the illicit market, where dealers can introduce users to harmful substances. As we deliberate on the ban of medical marijuana, let's consider how societal views have evolved and the impact of generational differences on this discourse. Our society evolves, and with it, so do our perceptions. The older generation's views on marijuana often stem from a different era where misconceptions prevailed. Today's science and research shed light on its medical benefits, challenging traditional notions. Morality isn't static, it's a tapestry woven by the experiences and discoveries of each generation. Our present understanding of medical marijuana diverges significantly from the past, calling for an open-minded approach that prioritizes evidence over outdated beliefs. Let us embrace the wisdom of progress and acknowledge that the views of the past don't always serve the needs of the present. It's time to pave the way for a future where evidence-based decisions prevail over generational biases. I remember that a similar item came before City Council and we all voted in favor of it then, but it was my understanding that it would only be limited to certain areas within the city, but not across the whole city. Thank you.
Just to be clear, we're talking about recreational marijuana, not
And
medical.
Would a medical facility still be able to provide it?
Yes.
Oh, then, apologize.
That's
Thank
okay.
you.
Anybody else from the public? Yes.
Sorry to bother you again, gentlemen.
Not a bother.
All right, so I'm Chris Maples again. So with everything being said, as far as the marijuana situation, all right, for medical, that's one thing. You have to have a prescription from a doctor for that. But just for retail, I think that's going down the wrong road. I'm old school. I know it doesn't help the body, but you know, granted, Native Americans used to smoke peyote. Okay, yeah, they fell off their horses now and then. The situation is when I'm driving down the road, I can smell it in the people's cars. So if we start making it more accessible, you know, from a retail standpoint, not only are you going to have lines waiting to get in there, because I've seen that before in Illinois, but you're also going to have more accessible to kids being able to get it from these other persons. My own kid has been hit up for somebody trying to sell marijuana to him between this is back when he was in middle school, but between the middle school and that overpass. Okay, so we start putting more allowances towards, you know, having retail and having more places available and stuff. I think we're just going down the wrong path. A lot of stuff today's going down the wrong path. Hey, nowadays they allow dogs in the stores. No arguments, you know. So I don't think it's a smart idea for us personally. All right, that's my stand.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, any other public comment? Okay, then we're going to go ahead and close our public hearing and reopen our regular, I'm sorry. Thank you, Mr. Griffith, for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you again for indulging me.
Okay, we'll reopen our meeting at 8:12 and turn it back over to Mr. Bailey.
Thank you. So we'll go back to item number 1 for tonight's public hearing. The project is the Bel Air rezoning. The owner is 847 Cranbrook Drive LLC. Property is located on Chatham Drive. Tax map and parcels 531-10.00-407.00 through 414.00 and 460.00 through 464.00. Current zoning is R1 low density residential, and they're looking to rezone 13 lots from R1 to R2. Those 13 lots will be reconfigured to accommodate 8 duplexes, 5 single-family dwellings, a community center, pool, tot lot, dog park, and additional parking. The proposed new lots will meet the requirements for R2 with a minimum lot size of 4,500 square feet and a minimum lot width of 35 feet. We will also update the zoning maps to reflect the zoning changes, and Planning and Zoning did make a favorable recommendation for approval at their November 2nd meeting.
Okay, I'll accept the motion. Is there no motion? So this motion will fail based on no motion?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. We'll go on to the second one.
So for agenda item number 2, the project is a Havenway subdivision. The owners are Havenway LLC. Property is located on Cedar Avenue. Tax map and parcel is 431-4.00-115.00. And they're subdividing this property for proposed duplexes on the lots, and they have received Board of Adjustment approval for those duplexes on November 8th. And the existing lot is 18,320 square feet and 150 foot wide, and the proposed new lots are both 9,160 square feet. And the lot 1 is 71.24 foot wide, and lot 2 is 78.76 foot wide. And they do meet the lot requirements for the C3 zone, which have a minimum lot size per unit of 3,630 square feet per unit. And each lot does have 4,580 square feet per unit. And the minimum lot width is 35. Planning and zoning also made a favorable recommendation for approval on November 2nd.
Okay, I'll accept the motion.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question on the motion or a clarification on the motion. I was involved with the Board of Adjustments meeting that heard this matter a few weeks ago. And I'd like to clarify that this motion would put this subdivision into the R2 regulatory category, even though it's in the C3 zone. That this is going to have to be built to the R2 specs. It's not mentioned here, and it wasn't mentioned before, that I would just like that clarified.
I think I can. I want to ask Mr. Bailey, in the zoning ordinance for C3, it references the same setbacks in the R2 district for.
That's correct.
Yeah, so it's already codified.
Okay.
I'm sorry for the wording. It's already codified, and that's what was discussed in the Board of Adjustment meeting.
Okay.
Does that help?
It does, thank you. In that case, Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the request of Haven Way 6 property owner of lots on Cedar Avenue to subdivide the existing parcel into 2 separate lots, tax map and parcel 431-4.00-115.00 as presented.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Councilman Bradley seconds. Okay, are there any questions on the motion? If not, we'll do a roll call vote. Councilman Henderson?
Yes, based on findings of facts.
Councilman Bradley?
Yes, based on findings and facts.
Councilman Holland?
Yes, based on findings of facts.
And Councilman McCoy?
Yes, based on findings of facts.
Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay, and then the last public hearing item will come back up in our old business. So we'll move on to new business number 1. And
Yeah, do you want
are
me
you walking through that? Okay.
I'll just tee it up.
Okay.
Miss Bella Sapna is here. Would you mind coming up for us? And council has in their package a letter of request from Miss Sapna. And Miss Sapna is a senior this year, and she has to do a community project with Sussex Academy. And she would like to place 2 mini libraries in Seroptimus Park. So worked with staff, Miss Newcomer and Miss Hickey, and council also has in their package a layout of the locations where they felt they would be located best for public access. So you see location 1 there as well as location 2. There's also a second picture for them in elevation, basically. But this would be a great amenity for our park. But Ms. Sapna, I don't know if you'd like to add any other comments or any other thing related to your request.
Yeah, the project that I did was based off of how literacy affects success in people, and growing up in Seaford, I feel like I had a lot of privileges that other kids didn't, which meant I had access to books all the time. And I just want to give our next Seafordian generations the opportunities that I had.
That's awesome. Okay, does council have any questions in regards to these mini libraries? Yes, sir.
Just a quick comment. I'm always blown away when I see our youth come forward and do things like this. I think the Carson Hastings, and this is an amazing project. I just want to applaud you for bringing it forward. So, thank you.
It's a perfect place. Okay, if there are no questions or comments, I'll accept the motion.
Councilman Holland, Mr. Mayor, I make the motion to approve the request of Bella Sapna to place 2 mini libraries in Seroptimus Park as a community service project prior to graduation from the Sussex Academy as presented.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Councilman McCoy seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. We would ask, though, is that once you get these up, we would love to hear about it and know about it and help promote it for you, too. So that's awesome. Congratulations. Well done. You know, it's a big deal to come up and stand in front of the mic, and that's tough. So we congratulate you for coming and sitting through a long meeting. That's an accomplishment to begin with. Some of us yawn and we get through it, right? So. Okay, we'll go on to new business number 2. We'll call up Mr. Burley Mears to walk us through this.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
I have what I feel is an easy one for you. So we had a budgeted purchase this year for a new pickup truck down at our wastewater treatment facility. We put it out for bid and we received technically 4 bids. One bidder submitted 2 bids for 2 different types of trucks. But you'll see in my recommendation that the low bidder actually did not bid correctly or bid our specifications, and they forgot to do an exception in their exception letter. So I called in to confirm that with them, and they did recognize that they missed it. So we have to fall back to the next lowest bidder that met all of our specifications, which is Hertrick Fleet Sales.
Okay, are there any questions regarding this bid?
Yes, I got one.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Burley, why did you pick 2-wheel drive instead of 4-wheel?
Because this is for our wastewater treatment facility, and they're typically stay down there. But,
Okay.
Snow bands, like that, they don't go anywhere.
Not removal on the front.
They have a front end loader that with, and then if they need anything, we typically supply them what they need. But they're not really down there during snowstorms, really, or anything
Right.
like that. Right.
Are there any other questions? Yes, sir.
Burley, do you have a separate service truck for the pumping stations? Or what's
It's
going
on order. It's on order. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, if there's no other questions, I'll accept a motion.
Councilman Holland, Mr. Mayor, I make the motion to award the bid for a half-ton crew cab, 2-wheel drive pickup truck for the wastewater treatment plant from Hertrick Fleet Sales. The lowest bidder meeting the required bid specifications in the amount of $40,855 and permit a budget overrun of $855 as presented.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Holland. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Councilman McCoy seconds. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. Okay, we have, where am I? Oh, the change in the electrical disconnects is Mrs. Merritt's going to come up and do that for us. Thank you. This is a first reading.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good
evening.
You have before you, we would like to request a revision in our electric rules and regs, section 9.14.5, which is the disconnection during winter periods. A few months ago, we made a change to city operation business hours, and we changed from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. We changed that to 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. And so we want to bring this piece of the rules and regs into line with our current operating hours. So we would just like to strike the what it reads is currently reads, disconnects will not be made on days where the outside temperature is 32 degrees Fahrenheit or less at 8 a.m. And we would like to change that to read, disconnects will not be made on days where the outside temperature is 32 degrees Fahrenheit or less at the start of the business day. That way, should hours change again at ever in the future, it would cover it.
All right, any questions in regards to this change? Yes, sir.
I think it's a great idea to generalize it, but I fear there's probably other places in the policy. And I encourage you to look over that to where it references certain times of days and even end of the day, end of business rather than 5 p.m. to standardize it.
Yeah.
In the future.
We did a brief review, and I was told that they did not see any others, but we certainly will take a look to make sure that we did not miss any.
Okay. All right, so this, if there's no other questions, this will come back at our next meeting for a final reading and vote. Okay. All right, thank you very much, Mrs. Merritt. All right, we're going to skip down to old business now. This would be the second reading of the change in the municipal code for prohibited uses. Are there any questions regarding this before we vote? If there are no questions, then I will accept the motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to deny the revisions to the Seaford Municipal Code, Section 15-29B, prohibited uses, and Section 15-40B, prohibited uses. 1, further move to request that staff investigate revisions to the municipal code that would permit marijuana cultivation facilities, marijuana product manufacturing facilities, testing facilities, and retail marijuana stores in the C1 general commercial and C2 highway commercial districts in the city of Seaford by special exception with appropriate conditions, limitations, and controls. Any such code revision would become effective only upon removal of marijuana and its related derivatives from the Schedule I designation at the federal level by necessary act of the Congress of the United States.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Henderson. Is there a second?
Councilman Holland, I second that motion.
Okay, are there any questions on the motion? I know Councilman Henderson read a mouthful. Are there any questions about what he has read and what it means?
Could I clarify that motion? I don't believe that this is the Congress's decision. I believe that this is an executive decision by the Department of Justice. So I would revise my motion at the end to say, by necessary act of the federal government.
So for clarification, this is this would be a ban on recreational marijuana in Seaford until the federal government, Department of Justice, made a change.
Correct.
Is that what you're saying? Okay. Does that change your second of his motion? All right, are there any other questions on the motion? Yes, sir. Councilman Bradley.
Could you boil this down for me a little bit? What you're saying is the federal government should be our supervisor in chief?
No, I recognize that cannabis products and their derivatives are already illegal at the federal level, and that a change, if not imminent, is likely to come. But at this point, I don't want to run afoul of the federal government, even though the state of Delaware has permitted recreational use.
Well, in regards to your statement, okay, Colorado has been doing this for about 3 years, okay, and I was in Denver when this first was enacted, and to be quite frank, I thought I was reliving Woodstock on a Sunday afternoon. That's as frank as I am. I do not have faith that the people that are controlling things in our government are interested in superseding and being a guardian over us at this point, okay? You know, all you gotta do is turn on the TV. We've got 6 million people that have crossed our border in the past 3 years, but yet there are laws in place that if they followed the law, this would not happen. So based on that, I can't get my head around the rest of it. And it's nothing personal, but I am just not in a position that I could really trust my government for anything at this point.
Are there any comments or questions on the motion? Okay, with that, we will do a roll call vote in support of the motion Councilman Henderson made. Just to be clear, if you support Councilman Henderson's motion, it's aye. If not, it's nay. Okay, so we're clear on what we're doing. So Councilman Henderson?
Aye.
Councilman Bradley?
Nay.
Councilman McCoy? Aye. And Councilman Holland? Okay, so it passes. So again, so to be clear, this is stating is that recreational marijuana is banned in the city of Seaford until the federal government makes a change in their laws around that issue. Correct? Yes, sir.
There's a caveat that we're requesting the city come up with revisions and plans, even though it's still on the Schedule 1, to regulate this. And then upon it being removed, then there would be a plan.
Okay, I'm with you.
So to piggyback what he's saying, it comes back to it can come back to revisit council.
So council can revisit this at any time.
That's correct.
Okay?
Yeah.
So right now, what's going to happen, as I understand this with this motion that's been approved, the code is going to stay the same. Council has directed staff to go back and determine, and I want to read it directly, this would become a use by special exception with appropriate conditions, limitations, and controls. So we're going to develop that code language. This many feet from a park, this many feet from a school as examples, these hours of operation. Then it would become a Board of Adjustment decision should the second part of this be removed from Schedule 1 designation at the federal level by the necessary act of the federal government, whether it's Congress or executive action. So we will have to develop that code language. And I believe it was said here this evening, I think it was said by our attorney, that the state of Delaware is developing their rules and regulations around this. And as council is well aware, we, the city, cannot do anything that is adversarial or in contrivance to any state law. So we'll need to see those requirements as they frame them out, and we'll need to make sure that we are in compliance with them, and we do not do anything that supersedes or is contrary to them.
Okay, all right, with that, reminder of meetings, please.
Okay, December 2nd is the Seaford Christmas Parade. Line up at Pennsylvania Avenue and Shipley Street. Step off is at 7 p.m. Just a reminder, there is no rain date for this, so if it does rain, we've agreed the committee will make the call at 3 o'clock or before. We'll let everyone know, and there's no date for reschedule. That's all I have, sir.
Okay, very good. All right, we'll go to committee reports, Code, Parks and Rec. Councilman Bradley?
Okay.
Oh, hold on. I'm sorry, I forgot my own thing. All right, so this year we're changing up holiday decoration voting. That's going to start, as you know, council rides around the community and looks at apartment complexes, looks at residential homes, and we vote on the best decorated homes. We're going to start that process on December 4th, the week of December 4th through the 11th. We'll make our final decision that Sunday night so we can announce the winners at our first meeting in December, which is December 12th. Okay? So we always have a lot of fun doing this. The past 3 years of winners are not eligible to win again, to give other people a chance, and council cannot vote for their own home. And if council does not put a light up in their house, then they will get picked on or something, I think, is how we're going to do it. So, but again, we want to make the public aware that that process will start. December 4th, we'll be riding around. That's, if you see people riding around looking at your house, it's very likely an elected official voting on your house for decoration contest, so. Okay. All right. Sorry to interrupt your
That's
report,
okay.
sir.
First of all, I guess we're gonna have to start taking our decorations down if we're not gonna be judged. I'm kidding. Okay. Mayor Genshaw, City Manager Anderson, fellow council members, city employees, and holdouts. First of all, I will start with Parks and Recs. Finalize the winter prep. Caroling in the park was a very nice evening with the tree lighting, and I thank everybody that contributed with their time and effort for that. I don't know if you saw the dog that was photogenic in front of the tree, the puppy. Did you see that? Yes. They snapped his finger, he just swung around. Most photogenic thing I'd seen. So anyhow, that was very nice. Code enforcement. East Park Business Center is completed with final inspection this week. Okay. Western Sussex Business Campus roof installation has begun, and I'm going to go on a brief tangent. Uh-oh, look out, right? I spoke with Chris Black on Saturday, okay, and everybody knows Chris Black, and he made me aware of a break-in where he works over here in the Business Center. The individual broke the front door, $1,000 worth of damage, called 911, slept under the desk for 4 hours, took Chris's coat, called 911 again, and went through barbed wire so he could be hospitalized, okay? So I think he purposely did all this because he wanted 3 hots and a cot for the winter, okay? My assessment of it. And I'm really concerned by hearing that about the homeless in our city. And I would like anyone that has information about Code Purple to please contact me or another council member so we can try to keep these people warm this winter. That's the end of my report. Respectfully submitted, Mike Bradley.
Thank you very much. Next, Police and Fire, Councilman Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's 2 complete reports by the fire chief and the police chief. I'll go through an abbreviated version. Under fire statistics, there's a total of 980 calls for the year, and we're not even in December yet, so it looks like that we're on a pace to exceed 2022 levels. November 2023 calls, it's 100 calls so far. EMS statistics, there are 3,736 calls to date, with 295 calls for the month of November. There's a number of significant incidents. There was a lot of mutual assist, but I'll go through those that occurred in the fire district. There was an agricultural vehicle fire on 1120 on Hensley Road. There was a cooking fire on Granary Way on the 23rd. Thanksgiving fire is very, very tough on families and those responding as well. 1125, there was an assist with the police action with the shooting at Mill Park Drive, which is out near Coverdale. Also out of the city on November 26th was a passenger car fire on Swain Road. And yesterday there was two alarm residential fire on Highland Drive, which many of you may have seen on the news. There was about $300,000 worth of damage to that home. It's almost a total loss. Under apparatus, engine 87-2 is out of service again for an identical issue with the pump, which occurred. They just got it back into service, so the same thing broke again. Very disheartening because they're short. Actually, it's my understanding that 87.5 is also out of service. He didn't list it here, but it's also we're down 2 first-line units, and we may end up having to borrow one from another company to maintain readiness. There's a lot of training coming up. I would like to congratulate the following members for their National Fire Service Pro Board certifications. Volunteer Lieutenant Trevor Holmes, Career Lieutenant Hunter Blake, Career Firefighter EMT Larry Whaley, Career Firefighter EMT Kyle Peterman. They all challenged and were successful for their Pro Board Firefighter 1 and 2, including hazmat operations and awareness levels. So congratulations go out to those the firefighters for their commitment to improving their level of knowledge and responsiveness for the fire department. Under EMS, we're going to mention Larry Whaley again in a more serious note that he experienced pretty significant medical condition, which is He's following up with his primary care physician and his cardiologist this week, so put Larry in your prayers and concerns for his speedy recovery. Ambulance 87 on Thanksgiving, while responding to a medical emergency in Laurel, had a coolant line go off, causing the unit to be placed out of service. That's another piece of equipment that was not listed in the apparatus status, but it is actually, it's back in service, but it went out of service, and it's now back into service. So ambulance C87 completed public event standby at Hearns Pond for a rodeo on the November 25th. I'm not sure what a rodeo is.
Don't know, sir.
Some sort of community event out there. Lieutenant Micah, these are some other significant milestones of service. Lieutenant Micah Eddy completed 2 years of service on November 18th. Lieutenant Robin Andino completed 6 years of service on November 27th. EMT Vicky Mast completed 15 years of service with Seaford Volunteer Fire Department on November 20th. And firefighter EMT Zach Middleton completed his combined 3 years of service on October 27th. We don't have names, but I am happy to report that there were 4 county winners in the fire prevention essay contest, and they're being awarded tonight at Laurel Fire Hall before the county association meeting, and it's my understanding that of those 4 county winners, Seaford has some first place winners that will go on to the state contest. So congratulations to those folks. We don't have names because I think they were holding out to announce them up or down in Laurel. Under Seaford Fire Department or Seaford Police Department report, Chief Kraft has a complete report which gives you the breakdowns over the past 5 years and year-to-date levels. As you can see, the year-to-date total complaints for 2023 is 10,111, and that exceeds the total for 2022 of 9,593. So a very, very busy year for the police department, especially being down-staffed. So we really do appreciate the administration and the lieutenants and sergeants pitching in and helping out on shifts. Under all crimes, there were 100 defendants, or 100 calls, 15 felonies, 24 misdemeanors, 6 violations, and 55 others. Clearance rate went down significantly, down to 71%, and that's due to pending active and pending inactive cases that may be solved imminently. There is a backlog in CID. I'll move on down to drug complaints. There were 8 drug crimes with 8 adult arrests, 4 search warrants, and 4 overdoses in this period that were responded to by the police department. That does not include EMS responses to overdoses. There were 135 traffic contacts, 45 citations and 19 warnings, 30 crashes, 3 injury accidents. There were 7 hit-and-run accidents and 1 bicycle accident, which occurred on private property in a parking lot. Number of significant events that are listed here that I won't go through in detail. However, I will, the last item that the chief has included was for 1125, where the Seaford Police Department did assist the Delaware State Police in the shooting that occurred out in Coverdale at Mill Pond. The same call that the fire department was involved with. And that, by the way, was a fatal shooting where the victim succumbed to his wounds at Tidal Health. Administration was busy with a lot of meetings. Of note, there's the Sally and the Edie Grant Committee meeting that the chief attended, and we will be recipients of some of those grants this year again, and I'd like to thank the chief and the leadership for going out and getting these grants that provide additional services for the city without increasing the tax burden. Actually, it's a return of tax dollars to us from the state. Under upcoming events, the Seaford Police Department will be very busy corralling all the attendees and the parade goers at the parade on the 2nd. And there's an event coming up that will be on the 8th of December, which will become a monthly event. And there's going to be some coordination with the city Parks and Rec Department and some others about this, but the Department of Justice Community Engagement Expansion event will be held at Nutter Park on 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. and that's going to be a recurring event. They're trying to get some engagement in that neighborhood. And under training on 11/14 and 11/15, there was limbs and taser and CPR first aid training at the training at Seaford Police Department. Patrol officers took, and the spear team had a training on the 22nd. So that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks. We have administration, IT, Councilman Holland.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A meeting was held with Nanticoke Senior Center regarding potential building expansion and budget needs. And they also met with several apartment complex owners in regards to surveillance initiatives. And the meeting was held with city engineers about Seaford Innovation Center renovation plans. And they attended various other meetings and events, and all the work was routine. That concludes my report.
Thank you, sir. And finally, we have electric, Councilman McCoy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Hit a few highlights from the last report. Our electric department changed the banners on High Street from the Hometown Heroes to the Christmas banners. They helped put up the Christmas tree in Gateway Park. Excuse me. They put the Ross substation back online, put circuits 310 and 320 back to normal operations, and they hung the Christmas decorations on the utility building. Regarding our director, he had a standard director's meeting, staff meeting, council liaison meeting, and picked up some of the tools that they got locally. Excuse me. Over the next few weeks, they're going to start working at the KRM building in the Western Sussex Business Campus, continue working in Bel Air single-family residence section, and continue changing the lights on Sussex Highway to LED. And Mr. Mayor, that's been my report in its entirety.
All right, thank you very much. Public Works and Wastewater Treatment Plant report is there. I hope you'll take a look at all the good things going on under Director Mears' leadership. He's awake? Okay. With that, I will just close with Seaford is just a beautiful town at Christmas time. I think Gateway Park was full of happy, smiling people ready to celebrate the birth of Jesus. It was, yes, it was half my family. Yeah, they were there. But the Christmas parade, I think someone was saying last night, they had just recently moved to Seaford and were just surprised how big a little town's parade is, and they just were amazed by it. So don't take for granted what we have here. We have a beautiful thing, and if you can beam a reporter with a Tootsie Roll, that's just extra points on parade night. So, all right, with that, I'll accept the motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
We have a motion from Councilman McCoy. Is there a second?
Second.
All those, Councilman Henderson, second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It's unanimous. Good night. Couple questions. Don't cut that out. That could have been the most important thing we've said all night. Tootsie Roll. Tootsie Roll.